Well, if it isn't my favorite cutie. How's it been? Rain was a bit funky last time, but it looks like we got clear skies today. You've been doing good? You've been doing fine? I have been doing eh, but let's not get too sidetracked. Sorry for not meeting up with you quicker. I got a little anxious after our last meeting and ended up staying in my den for a bit to recover. It's a process. While I did that, I did try to plan out a few, fun little activities for us to do, but I wasn't happy with what I had and I shelved those plans for another time. But I did learn a couple of useful things at least, so hopefully our next activities can be improved with what I've learned since then. But here I am, ready to ramble your ear off yet again. So, what shall we talk about this time? Well, it is October, hopefully. So, what would be a fitting topic for October? I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. We're rambling about Halloween, baby. October is the spooky month for a reason, after all. So, Halloween. What does Halloween mean to me and you? Well, it can mean a lot of different things depending on where you live and what you're allowed to do. It could be about just the candy or the costumes, or it could just be an excuse to watch a scary movie or play a scary game, or even just watch your friends play scary games. It's all around a fun time. Well, unless you're a type of person who doesn't like being scared, which, hey, it's understandable. Everyone has their limits, and some people's limits are a lot smaller than others. And the world has all types of genres, so if you don't like something scary, then maybe you just like something that makes you feel good. Or maybe it makes you feel sad. To each their own. But I like scary stuff. Good scary stuff, because sometimes there are horror, like media in general, that can get popular where I'm like, I'm not really all that into it. Like a lot of those Insidious movies or The Nun, Annabelle. A lot of those movies are very cookie cutter to me. They all have these tropes that you can just see from a mile away, and they kind of make those movies kind of boring to me. Like when I watch those like spooky ghost movies, I can always see exactly where the plot's gonna go just from one scene, and it's not exactly the most entertaining thing for me. I rather watch something scary that's actually interesting. Even if it isn't the most scary thing, as long as it's actually interesting, then I don't mind. I mean, some of the more better horror movies from back in the day had a lot more suspense, a lot more patience. I mean, most of The Exorcist was literally just like building up to that moment where you finally get to that scene, and once it happens, it's great. That movie's a fun watch. I think like the most hard thing about that movie is like that one scene with like the needle, where you see her getting like poked with a needle. But I think that was that early on or halfway through that movie. I don't remember because I watched that with some friends a while ago and I enjoyed it, but my memory's a bit, a bit spotty. Um, but yeah, I enjoyed that movie a lot. I haven't watched any of the other Exorcist movies. I only heard like I think the second one was bad and the third one was like okay, or maybe it's the reverse. Plus there was like a couple of other like extra Exorcist movies that they released later on that like continued those like plot elements. I think there was even a TV show, but I haven't watched any of those. Another horror movie that I really like that's very like a lot more slower pace, but that just makes it even better when you get to the scary stuff is Jacob's Ladder. If you don't know what Jacob's Ladder is a much more older film. It actually had a remake. Do not watch the remake, it's pretty bad. But the original one, that movie is really good. That movie is actually what inspired a lot of the scarier elements in Silent Hill. A lot of the stuff in that movie ended up being used in the Silent Hill games. Like if you watch that movie and then you like play some of the later Silent Hills, you can really see where they pull elements from that movie into those games. it's really cool. But yeah, it's kind of a hard movie to talk about because it's a movie that's a lot better to just watch and experience than talk about because it's a very like heavy spoiler movie. It's one of those movies where like it's better to like see it and then you understand rather than like talk about it. But what I can say is that the horror that is in that movie is top notch. Like it is a whole different level when it comes to like horror movies of nowadays. Not saying that all horror movies of nowadays are bad. I heard some good stuff about those. I think it's Jordan Peele. I think I could be wrong, but I heard good stuff about his like movies, but I haven't had the time to watch them yet. I don't really watch too many movies nowadays. Um, Honestly, the most scary stuff that I experience nowadays is usually games. Because I think like the last horror movie that I watched was like the FNAF one, and I didn't really like that one either. Um, it was more of a mix of like the horror not being all that scary to me. I mean, most of the jump scares that happened in that movie kind of just made me laugh. But and also because just the weird like plot, the ways they handled the canon, it's kind of weird to me. Where it's like, oh, it's FNAF one, but also there's elements from like Security Breach with like the girl being there, and like then you have all this stuff with like, oh, like the you can communicate with the ghost by drawings, and it's like that's really silly, especially when like in the games like the animatronics are like super hostile, and then you like watch the movie and they like don't do like anything for like the first half of the movie. Like like Michael literally falls asleep in his office and nothing happens to him. Like there's a couple of like ooh, spooky like poltergeist stuff, but it's not like in the games where it's like you get there and like day one they're trying to kill you. Like it takes about halfway through for like them to actually like be a threat to Michael. They have to like add in scenes of like people breaking in to like have an excuse for to see the animatronics actually like be killers. Like I honestly feel like those scenes were added in later because they were like, oh yeah, this movie's gonna be like PG rated if we don't like add something. Like most of those scenes feel like they don't affect the plot at all. Like you have a girl killed in her own house, or I think it's like in Michael's house that she like dies, and like that matters like and nothing at all. It's really funny. Like when you think about it, it's like oh we did it, we escaped, and it's like oh now how do we deal with this dead body in our house? Like well let's just ignore it. Let's just skip ahead. Oh see the girl's doing better in the grades now. Woohoo! It's just funny. But yeah, I mean if somebody liked it, then hey, it's not bad. Like I think it was like pretty mediocre in my opinion as a horror movie. But the plot that they had was like fine. I think really the only like real negative I had writing wise like was just William like being like, oh, I always come back because like he only says that like in I think it's like in the sixth game that he actually starts saying that, and by that point it makes sense because it's like oh yeah he like almost like he almost died, and like this is now his like third time back, and it's like yeah well it makes sense for him to say I always come back. But then you have him like be like, "Oh, I always come back" when he's about to freaking die. Like it's really silly to me that they do that. It's like one of those like, "Oh, he's saying the iconic line," but they just didn't really feel warranted. I don't know. But enough negativity. Let's talk about spooky games. There's been a lot of pretty decent horror games nowadays. Like most of the ones I've seen that have been coming out as of late have been pretty good. I haven't been able to play too many horror games, unfortunately, but I would like to play some more. Maybe next year when Halloween rolls over. I might have like a better computer by then and I can actually start catching up with horror games. But, like, the horror games that are there that I've been watching have been pretty cool. I really need to watch some of the more popular ones. Like, I don't remember what it's called, but it's like that one with like the guy that's all bandaged up. Like something mouthwashing or something like that. I heard some pretty good stuff, so I should probably watch that before Halloween ends. I have watched a little bit of that one Roblox game, Pressure. It looks cool. I've never really played anything in Roblox. I didn't really grow up with Roblox. I kind of like missed out on that train. Like, it was kind of weird because like I did not legitimately hear anything about Roblox when I was growing up. I remember I saw like the little cards for like Roblox or stuff in like GameStop, but like I never saw any gameplay, any like videos or anything. It wasn't until like years later where I remember I saw that one like Roblox game, like the piggy one, that was like the weird horror game based off like Peppa Pig. I remember I saw like one YouTuber playing that, and then I just started kind of hearing about Roblox more and more. And then it's just like, oh, like I grew up with Roblox and stuff, and it's like I don't, I that game never existed to me until recently. It's really weird. I guess the YouTube algorithm just was like, yeah, let's just not talk about this game. So I just didn't know that it was even a free game to begin with. I guess when I was a kid, I probably saw like the those little like Roblox thing in GameStop, and I saw the art style, and I was like, it's probably like a Minecraft copy. And also because like Minecraft was a game that you had to pay for back then. I mean, you still do, but like I saw that and I was like, oh, this is probably another like pay for game then. But turns out, nope, it was not. I probably could have like played it as a kid and probably enjoyed it. I have not tried it at all since. So maybe one day. Like I have heard some stuff that like the store is a bit like sketchy with its practices. But other than that, I've seen that people enjoy it, and as long as they're not doing literal criminal stuff, I guess that's fine. Maybe one day I will meet somebody who wants to play it or something like that. Because most of the people that I know don't really play it either. I don't think they have any history with it. I guess maybe we should talk about something else, something that isn't just spooky media. What about candy? Candy is pretty important for Halloween. I mean, I like candy. I never trick or treated as a kid because that just was really a thing where I lived. I don't really know if there's like any places in where I lived that has like actual trick or treating. Because even then, I live in like kind of a residential area. Like you could technically trick or treat, but just really wasn't a thing here. Um, but nevertheless, candy is still something you can buy, and I definitely did get candy. And there was those kind of like trick or treating things that would happen in school where you would get a bunch of free candy. A lot of the candy that I like is usually like chocolates and stuff like that, like Snickers or Crunch or M&Ms. Those are all great. I mean, at least with some moderation, you can't be gorging yourself on candy all the time. But when you got a couple of like chocolate bars or something, pretty good stuff. I don't think I've ever eaten like a couple of chocolate bars. Usually it's like just the one that you get as a little treat. And even then, when it's like Halloween, you usually just get those like small little like fun size ones. Usually with those, you just eat like a small handful. I never really had those like moments like you see in like cartoons where it's like, oh, big bag of candy. You just eat a ton of it until your stomach aches. Never got those moments. Usually I would always just like eat just small handfuls of candy. I mean, in terms of like candies that aren't chocolates, I mean, there's Skittles, I guess. Those are pretty good. Um, those like Jolly Rancher type candies and those like very like generic fruit candies that they sell here. I don't know if they sell them over in like more common places in America, but I don't know they usually give out like those little like cherry ones or a pineapple. I think there's also some grape. Those are good. Or lollipops. For some reason, like a lot of the times when I get lollipops, it's always the ones with the gum inside. And I don't mind them so much, but like I do like when it's just a normal like lollipop. Like the ones with gum, the gum isn't really ever that good. It's always kind of like mushy. But it's like always the ones I end up getting. Like I think the only times I ever get like different types of like lollipops are it's like when it's like Valentine's Day, where it's like, oh, you just get like a few like those free little heart ones. Those are alright. Usually on the smaller side. Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. Like I know it's like it's always like the gum lollipops. I guess maybe it's just a bit more common over here because we tend to get a lot of the cheaper stuff, and it's probably just easy to get like a bag of those and give those out and get like a good bag of lollipops. I mean, what are like good bags of lollipops? I mean, those there are like those The ones that you always see in the commercial with like the owl, like a Tootsie Roll or something. I don't remember. Um, yeah, I feel like a lot of the more noteworthy candies I would get a lot as a kid were like chocolates. Because other than Skittles, you just had lollipops. Sometimes those little like buttercup candies. I think those were buttercups. Those were pretty good. But usually it was like those or just generic candies. It's just like, oh, it's just this fruit. It doesn't even have like a brand name or anything. But hey, at least they were tasty. Yeah, yeah. All in all, candy's just decent. I mean, oh yeah, there's licorice. I never really have ever tried black licorice. I've only really ever eaten like just generic red licorice or the brand name versions. I've never really been a fan of like licorice, to be honest. Like, it's one of those candies that just kind of tastes bland to me. It just feels like, oh yeah, it's just like this long thing that kind of tastes cherry-ish. Like, yeah, like, but I don't think they ever really like sell like black licorice over here. I guess that makes sense. It's not really a popular flavor anyway. Oh yeah, there's candy corn. I actually like, kind of like candy corn, even if it is a little bland. It's just a nice thing to just pop up and eat. It's nice, and it's very of it's very fitting for Halloween. You know, it's got the colors. But yeah, like I know that some people don't like candy corn. I mean, I kind of get it. The taste is kind of eh. But it's just one of those candies. It's just nice to eat. It's not a taste that's really vile, you know. Like even something that tastes kind of boring, at least is edible. Something that just kind of fills up a little bit of that hunger, you know. And I think that's better than something that just tastes bad. Well, I guess this Halloween bag is run out of candy, so when we talk about the other Halloween thing, and that's costumes. I haven't really ever put on a costume in a while. I mean, there isn't really that many chances to do so, especially when you get older. It's always one of those things where you just have to choose to do it for yourself. And I don't really have the ability to just spend a little money just to put something on like that. And most of my friends live pretty far out, so it's one of those like you can't really go out and spend some time with your friends for a Halloween thing. But I don't know. I think maybe at some point I would like to try again. Maybe when I feel more confident with my self appearance, maybe I'll try a little proper Halloween costume. But as of now, I think I'll just stay like this. I do remember though that a lot of the Halloween costumes that I wore as a kid, you know, oddly enough, most of them were very like they just completely covered me, which I guess makes sense. But I remember I once dressed up as a ninja. I once dressed up as Spider-Man. The ninja one was kind of tragic because you probably should never give a toddler a plastic sword, and they gave me a plastic sword. And as a child with no morals, I absolutely beat the heck out of the cats, and I feel real bad about that. I was a menace as a child. Like I've heard the stories of me as a little ninja, just running after the animals with my plastic sword. I think I would also just hit people in general. I don't know. As a kid, as like a little like taller me, I was evil for some reason. Like I lost a lot of that like evilness as I grew older. Like even in video games, when I get more choices, I always tend to pick good. But back then, I was a little. I'm not something I can say on YouTube. That's for sure. I did. I'm pretty sure though when I was Spider-Man, because there is no like weapon for Spider-Man, and also like I was one of those kids that could not afford the like web slinger things. I just was just Spider-Man, just no webs or anything. But I do remember that when I was Spider-Man as a kid, I would spend like an extended period of time just wearing that costume. Even after like Halloween, I would still wear the costume because I enjoyed wearing it. It was a fun time. And even then, nowadays, I still have like a Spider-Man mask around. I'm pretty sure it's from like some Halloween costume. I haven't worn it in a while. Like I think I had it as a joke back then, and then I just found it a little while ago, and I just put it up. I just kind of have it nearby. It's not exactly something I want to try wearing again, especially when it's just like a very bootleg mask. But hey, it's fun having that there at least. You know. Ye- Yeah, like other than that, like I remember I once tried to dress up as Darth Vader, but I didn't have the full costume, so we just kind of had to like. I had the mask, so I put on the mask and then I got like one of my dad's jackets, and I just flipped it over and put it over my shoulders, and that was my Darth Vader costume. I think I did have like at least a lightsaber, but I don't think it was a red one. It was one of those like collapsible lightsabers, but like the ones you had back then that just immediately like collapsed into itself and never could hold its shape. Like every one of those lightsabers that I had was always like that. Like just the most terrible collapsible lightsabers. Awful, truly awful. But they were fun to have. You could just smack the air and just immediately collapse it out, and you would feel so cool until you start waving it and it immediately like falls apart. But I think I always had like a green one as a kid. I don't actually know where that thing went. Yeah, it was a fun time with those lightsabers. But after that, I don't think there was like that many chances where I got to wear a costume. Most times I just wear whatever I gotta wear. I think like if I ever wear another Halloween costume, I would like to wear a proper witch costume. That seems like fun. I never got to like actually wear like a girl's Halloween costume. It was always just ninjas, Spider-Mans, and then one bootleg Darth Vader costume. I think I would look good as a witch. I guess this will have to do for now. Being a shapeshifter does have its benefits, at least. You can be anything you want, from the smallest little bunny to the biggest dragon. And besides, isn't being a fairy essentially just dress up all the time? But this time you get to be a cute little critter rather than a devious little monster. I've definitely seen some people in this community that are very much a devious little monster. uh, yeah. But in terms of other Halloween stuff, I always enjoyed when cartoons and movies had their little Halloween specials. I do tend to remember a lot more of the Christmas specials than the Halloween ones. I think it's mostly because like Halloween ones were more just like, oh, this is the episode that gets to be scary when we got like the monsters and stuff. While like Christmas was just like, oh, this is the episode where you get snow and good cheer and stuff. And I just kind of like that vibe a bit more. It always felt so nice. Like the music, like that, so much snow. It was super, super cozy. And I just like that feeling more. Like a lot of those like Christmas specials from cartoons back in the day I really liked. But there are some like Halloween specials that I still remember that were really good. Like this is probably gonna show my age, but I really like the Ed and Eddie like Halloween specials. Those ones had like this really cool aesthetic, especially when like I think it was like Ed was the one that he was like in character as his costume, and he had like these weird like flashes because I think he spent the whole like day watching movies, and that like affected him. And so you had like these cool little like effect that would happen whenever he was in character. It was pretty cool. Yeah. Other like notable Halloween specials though. So remember like the edited ones. Oh yeah, Billy and Mandy also had like some really cool Halloween specials. Though it was always like hard to tell the difference between the Halloween ones. The actual show like had monsters in it and like a lot of the more traditional Halloween stuff. But you could still tell because of like those episodes were actually in Halloween, which I guess makes it feel more like a Halloween special rather than just like a this is the spooky set of episodes like Simpsons where it's like the Treehouse of Horror stuff. And like I always enjoyed the Halloween events that Cartoon Network had. Like I remember there was this really cool one. Pretty sure it was on Halloween. That was like Invasion, where it was like aliens. It was a pretty cool concept. I really liked that whole event, like all the like promos that they had for it. I don't remember a lot of the episodes, but I do remember like the aesthetic of like those promos. Kind of like stuck with me. It was like really cool. A lot of like Cartoon Network's old like promotional stuff was always so cool. I really liked their Christmas stuff, and like this like Cartoon Network City stuff was really cool. Oh yeah, there's also I remember back in the day whenever Cartoon Network would hit like a holiday, like either like Halloween or Christmas, they always tended to play like movies that fit the season. Usually like animated movies that weren't from like any series. It was just stuff that they like licensed, I think. And I remember like there were two in particular that I always really liked back in the day. Well, technically three because the Halloween one had a sequel. But I remember that there was the Scary Godmother movies and also all of the other reindeer, which was like the Christmas one. And I really loved those movies when I was a kid. I don't know if they play them anymore in current Cartoon Network. I think they like replace them with other stuff nowadays. I don't really know what they play, if they just stick to stuff related to their cartoons or if they still play like movies that they just get the licenses of. But like the Scary Godmother movies, those movies were great. I really liked those movies. As a kid, I used to have like the DVD for both of the movies. And I actually remember that I checked recently, and both of them are on YouTube if you want to watch them. They're fun little kids movies. They have a lot of like very cool like monster designs. Not like the most scary, but it's like really nice stuff. Yeah, like the first one was about like this little girl who I think gets tricked by her brother and her friend and his friends into like this haunted house, and there she ends up meeting the scary godmother, and like she takes her to like her like little haunted home that has all these like fun little monsters, and the girl ends up like overcoming her fears and making friends with all the monsters, and eventually like the monsters and the scary godmother help her like scare her brother. And I think the sequel is about like the brother getting like his revenge after like the events from the first one, because I think like the little girl ends up becoming friends with his friends, and he becomes kind of like an outcast. But I think that gets like resolved by the end, and they end up like becoming friends with all the monsters. It's just a fun little like spooky movie to watch as a kid. It's a nice alternative if you don't want to watch something too scary or too traumatizing if you're the squeamish type. But overall, those movies are pretty great, at least from what I remember. I would have to like go back and rewatch them, which I do plan to do. It is a fitting time to watch them after all. But if you want to watch them, then go ahead. They're both on YouTube. I can't say for certain if they aged well, but from what I remember, I enjoyed them, and hopefully you'll enjoy them too. Overall, what other Halloween stuff we could? Oh wait, it's getting dark out. I don't want you wandering around this forest in the dark, so I think we should best stop here while we can. I would love to talk more about Halloween, but my memory is still a bit spotty, and I think honestly we can probably do this better next time around. There's always next year, but until then, this is where we part ways. But before you go, I have a bit of a favor to ask you. Something simple. And that is, well, just to say, there's no real playful way of asking this, so I'll just be upfront. I want to have some feedback on your part. I want to know what kind of videos or content you would want from this channel. Obviously, it's ASMR content, obviously, but what kind of ASMR do you want? I have some plans that I still want to do, but for the general content of this channel, what would you like? What kind of roleplays would you like? Or even certain triggers that I should try? Or even, if you think my voice matches a character that you like and you would like to hear me try and do a roleplay with that character, then please leave a comment and I'll keep it in mind. Now, the comments on the last video were a bit spotty because from what I saw, YouTube moderation tried deleting some comments, specifically one of my friends. I wasn't sure if like anybody else was actually trying to comment. There was that one comment, which was a nice one, thank you, but that was really the only one that I saw as of recording this at least. But yeah, if the comments of this video like actually are a bit more populated, then please consider leaving your feedback there. And if you watch this and there's other videos by the point that you watch this, then you can also leave a comment on those videos as well. If they help, they help. Just keep it PG. Anybody can be watching these. So with that out of the way, we can finally part ways officially this time. Hopefully I'll be able to make another visit soon enough. I can't say when, because I do want to make these visits a bit more regular, but I'm not really all that used to being this consistent. But I do want to try and actually make these more often. But just be patient until then, okay? I want to make sure that every visit is a good one. But until then, see you next time, cutie.